friends. Good morning. Today I'm here with the next topic overview of C Sharp. I am Riti Nayak from Bhagwan Mahavir College of Engineering and Technology Computer Department. Now we will see what is structure of C Sharp program. Going for the structure, first of all, we specified the namespace that we use classes from here. We used a namespace of using system. Using system.threading is specify more specific namespace. Namespace application of namespace. Here we can specify our namespace using our own application namespace. Next, here first we used comments that start with used for. Here we can add a comment line of our program. Next, creating online documentation like Java documentary. Next, summary. We had specify here our summary description of classes. Next, we specify class. Suppose we have an example of class 1 and then start with our class program. Here, the example of C sharp code. Here I specify class 1. Here I specify static void main. Here the process of our main function or main program will be executed. Next, here I just want to enter a write line hi. I just want to display a message of hi. Then I write console.write line in the bracket inverted comma hi. So when the output came, it showed the message of hi. Next, we can define other method and variables for the class. For example, constructor. So class 1 code, here we apply any type of code. Suppose we have to addition of two numbers, we have to subtraction of two numbers, any other functions we can apply. Next, some method use public, private, protected. Here we can specify our method using three types. Use publicly, privately, and protectedly. In public, we can use our classes and we can use our method in public space. And in private, so we do not use our class function to another class function, which is mentioned as a private. And protected, that we want our two classes and we want to execute one classes of a method into another classes, so it is protected by the class specified class. Next, use static as well, just like Java. Public void fwo. Here I specify the another class name public void fwo and then code. Now instance static variable. Here we specify instance static variable. For example, we want to specify private integer m underscore number. Here I want to specify some numbers. So I can specify the numbers, any parameters. Next, public static double main m underscore stuff. We can specify any here. We can specify private integer number only, and we can say public static double m only. Next, C sharp basic. C sharp code normally uses the file extension of .cs. Note similarities to Java. A few annoying difference. For example, main instead of main. In C sharp, we must write our main function and first letter always in capital, but in Java, we can add the second letters. If a namespace is left out, your code is placed in the default global namespace. The using directive tells C# what method you would like to use from that namespace. If we left out the using system statement, then we would have had to write system.console.writeLine instead of just console.writeLine. It is normal for each class to be defined in a separate file, but you could put all the classes in one file if you wish. Using Visual Studio.NET project, add class menu option will create separately file for your classes by default. So in C Sharp, we can add multiple classes into our single program. If MSDN is installed, online help resources built in Visual Studio.NET. Help menu looks up C Sharp programming language reference and dynamic help. If MSDN is not installed, you can go to online to access the references. It is accessible from http://msdn.microsoft.com library default ASP. You will have to drill down to VS.NET documentation, VB and C Sharp, and then to the C Sharp reference. Both includes numerous tutorials or search any keywords. Basic out Basic output with write line. System.console.writeLine will output a string to the console application. You can use this just like Java's system.out.println. System.console.writeLine hello world plus 10 divided by 2 will show the output hello world and the 5. We can also use 0, 1, 2 in open and closing parentheses to indicate arguments in a write line statement into print. For example, console write line hi in open and closing parentheses 0 are 0 and your age is 1, comma, Kernick, comma, 23 will output hi Kernick, you are Kernick and your age is 23. Here we specify age as a 23, 1 into converted to 23 and 0 is converted to Kendrick. Write line options. How here we can see write line options into different methods. There are also options to control things such as number of columns to use for each variable, the number of this decimal place to print, etc. For example, we would use C# to specify the value should be displayed as a currency. Console.write line, you have 0, C dollars 1.3. The output goes, you have $1.30. See the online help or the text for more formatting options. Now we see the data types of C Sharp. C Sharp support value types of reference. Value types and reference types. Value types are essential to primitive types found in most languages and are stored directly into a string. Reference types are object and are created on heap. Built-in types. Built-in types are bool for system.boolean It displays the Boolean numbers. Next, system.byte. It is used to display the byte numbers or byte data. System.sbyte. It displays the small number of bytes data. Next, system.character. CHAR. It displays the character of data in the system. Same way, we can display the decimal number, double number, single number, integer 32, union integer 32, integer 64, union integer 64, object. Here, object is used to specify the object of our class. Next, in the integer 16, union integer 16, and the string. We can see this object and string is also a reference type object which are created on a heap. Now, automatic boxing and unboxing. Automatic boxing and unboxing allows value type can be treated like object. For example, the following public methods are defined for object equals get hash code, get type to string. Okay, now equals is used for overloaded, determines whenever two objects instance are equal. Get hash code serves as a hash function for a particular type suitable for use in hashing algorithm and the data structure like hash table. Here we can enter the hash table also. Get type gets a type of current instance. To string resume a string that represent the current object. We can we can then write code such as integer I console.writeLine I dot to string integer hash is equal to I get hash code. This is equal to performing z is equal to new object of I console.writeLine z dot to string. First version more effective due to automatic boxing of VM level, virtual machine level. Next is structure. Structure is another value type. A struct can contain constructor, constant, field, methods, properties, indexers, operators, and nested type. Declaration of structure. Struct look like a declaration of class. Expect we use the keyword struct instead of class. For example, here we specify some structure. So public struct point, public integer which we want to put x, here I put x and y. Public point integer p of 1 and p of integer p of 2. X is equal to p of 1 and y is equal to p of 2. Here x and we already specified the value of P1 and P2. So what is the difference between class and structure? Unlike classes, structures can be created on a stack without using any keyword new. For example, point P1 and P2, P1 dot x is equal to 3, P1 dot y is equal to 5. We also cannot use inheritance with a structure. Numerations. Numerations type. Numeration is really mapped to integer as the underlying data type. Numeric first, enum goes outside of the class definition. Enum, here we define enum days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Instead of some method, days, day 1, day 2, integer day 3. Day 1 is equal to days dot Saturday, day 2 is equal to days dot Tuesday, day 3 is equal to integer days dot Friday. Console dot write console dot write line day 1, console dot write line day 2, console dot write line day 3. Here we specify here day 1 is equal to Saturday, day 2 is equal to Tuesday, and day 3 is equal to integer. We have put any number of integer Friday as a 6. Now next is strings. The built-in string type is much like Java's string type, not lowercase string, not a string. Concat using plus operator. Just like Java, there are a variety of methods available. Find the index of matching string or characters, generate substring, compare for quality. If we use is equal to on string, we are comparing if the reference are equal, just like Java. Generate clone strings, etc. Next is classes. Basic class definition already covered. To specify inheritance, use a colon after the namespace, after the class name, and then the base class. To invoke the constructor for basic class in a derived class, we must use the keyword base after the constructor in derived class. We must also be explicit with virtual methods. Methods are not virtual by default as with Java. Here one example of bank account. Here I specified public class bank account, then public double M underscore amount, bank account double D open parenthesis M dot account is equal to D, public virtual string get info open parenthesis return basic account. Now here specify the another class which is used inheritance, public class saving account colon bank account. This bank account inherit with class saving account. Saving account derives from a bank account. Usual inheritance of methods variables. Public double M dot interest rate M underscore interest rate saving account double D dot base 100 M interested rate is equal to 0.025. Public override string get information. String s is equal to base dot get information. Return is equal return s plus add and saving account. Sample class uses saving account A is equal to new string account 0.05 console dot write line A dot M amount console dot write line A dot interest rate console to write A dot get info. Here the output of M amount is 100 which is specified here. Next is interest rate. Interest rate is 0.05 and basic account and saving account. Get information from basic account and saving account. Class notes. We must explicit state that a method is virtual if we want to override it. By default, non-virtual methods can be overridden. We also have to explicitly state that we are overriding a method with a override keyword. To invoke a base method, we use base.method name interface. An interface in C# is much like an interface in Java. It is similar to interface used in Java. An interface states what are and what an object can do, but not how it is done. It looks like a class definition, but we cannot implement any method in the interface nor include any variables. Here we see some specified interface. Here we specified public interface I, ID drivable, void start, void stop, and void turn. Here we specify the classes for different type of public class: sports car, ID drivable, iDrivable, void start. Its code here is implement for start. Void stop, here we implemented our code for stop, and here we implemented our code for turn. So we specified void start, void stop, void turn. So the method of interface: void forward, iDrivable D start, wait, and stop. Reading inputs. To input data, we must read it as a string and then convert to the derived type. Console.write line, we will start and return a line for input text as a string. We can then use type.parse string to convert string to the derived type. For example, strings s string s integer s is equal to console dot write line and I is equal to integer dot parse s. How we can specify our read function as s is equal to console dot read line. Using this, and we can read our line which is writed in console dot write line. I is equal to integer dot parse s. Here we specify the integer defines as a s variable. We can also use double parse, float parse, etc. There is also useful converted class with methods such as convert dot to double value, convert it to boolean value, convert it to date and time value, etc. Procedural stuff. We also have our familiar procedural constructor: arithmetic, relational, Boolean operators, all the same as Java and C++. For, while, do, if, all the same as Java and C++. Which case, like Java, expect, force, a break after a case, code is not allowed to fall through to the next case, but several case labels may mark the same location. Next, math class. So we can easily specify math.sign, math.cos, etc. Random classes. Random is equal to random r is equal to random new random numbers r dot next double comma r dot next 10 and 20. Here r dot next double is used to enter the random numbers between 0 and 1. R dot next is used for integer I, integer of 10 less than equal to integer of 20. Passing parameters. Here we can see how the parameter will be passed through C sharp. Passing a value variable by default refers to the pass by value behavior as in Java. Public static FOO, a public static void FOO, integer a. We can specify here value of a is equal to 1. Static void main string arguments. Here integer x is equal to 3 FOO x. Console dot write line of x. This output of value will be 3 because X is passed by a value to the method fw, which gets a copy of X value under the variable name of A. Passing by reference. C# allows a reference keyword to pass a value type by references. Public static void fw integer reference A. A is equal to 1. Static void main string arguments integer x fw bracket in the bracket reference x comma console dot write line x. If then the reference keyword must be used in a both parameter declaration of method and also when invoked, so it is clear what parameters are passed by reference and may be changed. Output the value of 1. Since variable in fw is really a reference to where the x stored in a main function. If we pass a reference value, objects or string etc. to a method, we get the same behavior as in Java. Changes to the content of the object are reflected in a caller since there is only one copy of actual object in memory and morely multiple reference to that object. Passing a reference variable. Consider following public static void fw string as s is equal to specified as cow static void main string arguments string is str is equal to mw fw str console dot write line str. Output will be mw since inside method fw the local reference parameter s is set to a new object in the memory which with the value of cow the original reference str remains untouched. Passing reference variable by reference. Following will change. Here we specified public static fw string reference as s is equal to cow, static void main function string str is equal to mw, fw reference str, console dot write line str. Here the output will be cow since fw passes a value to str variable. Now we see the array. Array in C# are quite similar to Java arrays. Array are always created of the heap and we have a reference to array data. The format is just like Java. Type array name is equal to new type of size of an array. For example, integer here ARR specified as array name is equal to new integer value and integer specified as a type of and size is equal to 100. This allocate a chunk of data of the heap large enough to store an array and ARR refer this chunk of data. More on arrays. The length property tells us the size of an array dynamically. Console.writeLine ARR.length outputs of 100 for about declaration. If we want to declare a method parameter to be of type array, we would use public void fw integer open and closing bracket data. To return an array, we used public integer open and close bracket fw. Just like in Java, if we have two array variables and want to copy one to another, we can do it just as an assignment. This would assign the reference, not make a copy of array. To copy the array, we must copy each element of one at a time or use the cclone method to make a copy of a data and set a new reference to it. Multidimensional array. Two ways to declare multidimensional arrays. The following defines as 30 by 3 matrix, or we can say 30 by 3 array. Integer, comma, ARR is equal to integer first starting from 30 and 3. Here we specified 30 by 3 array. Here we put a comma inside the bracket. It indicates two-dimensional. This allocation a single chunk of memory with a size of 30 by 3 size of integer and creates a reference to it. We use the formula for row measure order to access each element of an array. The following defines 30 by 3 array using array of arrays. Integer open two open brackets and closing bracket. ARR, it is a variable, is equal to new integer 30 by 3. We can specify, we can declare our array two-dimensional array with different way in C sharp. First, this one, and second is this one. To an end user, this looks much like a previous declaration, but it creates an array of 30 elements where each element is an array of 3 elements. This gives us a possibility of create array, but it is slower to access since we must dereference each array index just like Java array. Related to array. Check out the array list class defined in system.collection. System.collection it has array list is a class that behaves like a Java vector in that it allows dynamic allocation of elements that can be accessed like an array or also be named using a key. Lastly, C# provides a more new loops method called for each. For each will loop through each element in array or collection. For example, string ARR is equal to hello, comma word, comma FWO, comma anything you can add. I am just adding some random variables. Random values. For each string s x integer ARR console.write line x will output of each string in array. Delegates. Here are some other features of C Sharp, which is delegate. C Sharp uses delegate where language such as C++ as a functional pointer. A delegate defines a class that describes one or more methods. Another method can use this definition regardless of actual code that implements it. C Sharp uses this techniques to pass the event handlers to the system, where the event may be handled in different ways. Delegate example. Here compared 1 using alphabetic comparison and compared 2 using length. Two different methods. Public static integer compare string 1 and string 2. String 1 as a string s1 and string 2 as a s2. Return s1 dot compare to s2. Here we use a value of compare to. Public static integer compared to string 1 and string 2. If s1 dot length less than equal to s2 dot length is then return -1 else return 1. See the full example of comparison. Public delegate integer compare delegate string 1 and string 2. Here we just add two delegates of comparison. Public static string find mean, string, ARR, compare delegate, and compare. Integer I is equal to mean index is equal to 0 for I is equal to 1, I less than array dot length I plus plus. If compare ARR mean index, comma ARR I greater than 0 and then index I, return to array mean index. Static void main string argument in a string array hello word fwo and another words. String s console.write find mean ARR new compare delegates compare 1 and console.write find mean array new compare delegates compare 2. Here we can create the compare 1 and compare 2 delegates. It execute with this to compare 1 and compare 2 method. The output of this code is using compare 1 alphabetic comparison and using compare 2 the length comparison. Here in in this string we just compare to the value of which is higher than the another entered value. So here we enter some string, it specified the higher words which is specified in this array. Next, here second one comparing the length of the value, and then the output will give fwo which is the smallest number of words. In next lecture, we can see how the C# language is used under CLR, and next we will see how the various Windows forms featured to created Windows application in graphical interface. Thank you.